Welcome into the Illini Inquirer Podcast. Happy new week. It is Jeremy Werner and Joey Wagner with you, and we're here to recap one of my favorite events, the NFL Draft. Always has been since I was a little kid, and it gets even better as I've covered this professionally now the last couple of years. But Joey Wagner was at the actual NFL Draft in Green Bay. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about Pat Bryant, third-round draft pick, where I think he belongs, and I think most Illini fans would agree as well. But also a couple of Illini landing some undrafted free agent deals, and we got to talk about some transfer portal additions because Illinois got busy in the transfer portal over the weekend, so we'll talk about all of that. But, Joey, how are you? How was your weekend in Green Bay?
I am good. Green Bay was good. I thought the city really put on very, very well. For that occasion. I know there were a lot of question marks just being a quote-unquote smaller town hosting that. They delivered, man. Like, we couldn't get in Thursday. We stopped and got some food at I think it's West Alice or Alice, whatever, outside of Milwaukee, got some lunch there. So we got into town a little late, and we're at the Airbnb, and they said the draft's at capacity. And I thought, it's outside. What do you mean? And there was 205,000 people there. So we kind of hung around Lambeau and got in a little bit on Saturday to check it out. It's exactly what you would think, right? It's cool for about an hour when you're there, especially when it's a little cold on Saturday. It's like, all right, well, we've seen what we need to see. Let's get out of here and maybe find a place to have a drink or two somewhere else. It was cool, man. Like I wouldn't have done it if it wasn't Green Bay, and I don't know that I have, outside of work purposes, a desire to do it really within work purposes. We'll get to that here in a second. The desire to do it again. It's really well done on TV. Like, even if you're frustrated by some of the coverage, whether that's ESPN or NFL Network, however you want to look at it, that is the best version of what you are getting with the NFL Draft. Like, being there is cool for a second, but all the TV stuff, or as much as you roll your eyes throughout the course of the 3 days, it is a well done deal.
Yeah, I stopped by when it was in Chicago. My brother lived at that point in the Loop there. So I stopped by day 3. I think it was like 2011 or 2012. Chicago hosted 2 years in a row there. And it was cool to see. It was kind of an event, but it was really just kind of an NFL celebration. Like, you didn't really pay attention to the picks. And to be honest with you, when that came on TV on Thursday night, and it was just like, you guys are all in a parking lot, basically, of like 200,000 people. And there's not even like a concert going on. You can't really see much. I was like, that looks like my hell. I wouldn't want to be in that mass of people, but I get the vibe of being there. It's a big party. It's a big NFL party where everyone gets some hope. So it was cool to see. And yes, I agree with you. I got all my issues with Green Bay of you guys beating us all these years, but the two things you guys do well, especially in Wisconsin, is football and drinking parties, right? Like, you guys are pretty dang good at that.
Yeah, it's two good things to be good at, I would say, in the fall seasons. But it was cool to see. Like, I even saw, like, early on, as more like national media got into the week or got into to Green Bay, they're like, oh, there's not this or this. It's like, okay, slow down here. This is still a good town. You don't need to try to dunk on Green Bay because it doesn't have
town.
Yeah, some of the amenities maybe that you're used to. It's not some sort of out in the sticks place. It's fun, man. I was happy to see that they delivered like they did. What I didn't realize, Jeremy, is I guess when I go to Lambeau, I'm very, like, as a fan, I'm very intentional about the path I'm taking, where I'm going, because either you're running short on time or you're trying to find a good parking lot spot to have a few beers before you go in. The area around Lambeau has really, in my eye, I mean, and maybe I've missed it just in the times I've gone up there and not done as much wandering as I should, but it feels like that's grown so much. It almost reminds me of, not quite Ballpark Village at Busch Stadium, but just a lot of different options. We hunkered down at the Green Bay Distillery on Saturday afternoon and had a couple nice old fashions, had some, what did I get? A Green Bay mule. So it was, that place was really cool. And Jordy Nelson was in there signing autographs. And I thought, man, one, I want to buy this. Two, I don't really want to carry this around all day, but it was, that area around there was really grown up.
No, I'm glad you had a good time. Next year, Pittsburgh. That's pretty
Love
good.
Pittsburgh. Love Pittsburgh.
Pretty good city to have. I mean, most of these cities can show up and have a good setting, but Pittsburgh with that backdrop, I mean, if they're going to do it anywhere near Heinz Field, PNC Park, you got that backdrop of the cityscape right behind it. That's a perfect spot. You talk about football towns, just like Green Bay. That is certainly an NFL.
I think they can put a drink or two back as well, so it'll probably be a good time.
Was Iron City beer they got there?
I think all I can think about is Scranton, the Electric City. So when you say Iron City, all I can think about is
They
Scranton.
can stop at the Burgatory. I mean, one of us might be there next year, Joey. Brett Bielema's hoping so. They think they have a couple guys that might have a chance to be there in the first round. So we'll see. We'll see how that works out. We talked about all their draft prospects for next year. But professionally, this has become my favorite event to cover, Joey. I know you have covered several of these draft day events where these players allow us to be a part of their big day. And it's such an intimate thing that I wrote about it this morning. Like, I do not take it for granted that Chase and Sidney Brown, Tip Ryman, and now Pat Bryant have invited me into their inner circle here during their most important day of their lives professionally to let us in there and be a part of it. I know you were that with Vidarian Lowe and Johnny Newton. And I know you covered Devin Witherspoon, who was in Kansas City for the whole event. This is just such a cool event. And you and I, we care a lot about what we do, a lot about chronicling the stories of these guys and the responsibility that comes with that. You want to be fair, you want to tell it truthfully, but you also want to get to know these people and share their stories with the world. And this moment feels like the culmination of it all, right? Like, I talked to Pat Bryant 5 years ago at Jacksonville at his high school, and he's got this big dream, and he's going to a school at Illinois that had Lovie Smith at the time. And we could see him grow step by step. And sometimes it's not linear. With Pat Bryant, it really was pretty linear from blocker as a freshman to starter to playmaker to all of a sudden one of the best receivers in the country. But to be able to be there and see that moment with his family, to see the reaction, to see the joy, to see the tears, the anxiety that comes with that day of waiting around, and it went even quicker than a lot of people projected with Pat Bryant. But to see Brett Bielema and his emotion, to see Justin Stepp and his emotion, to see his mother dancing into the night, to get to know his fiance and his future mother-in-law and talk to them about their future in Denver and buying a house. Like, these are some of the coolest moments that I've had professionally, to be able to see these moments of when they become college players and commit to these schools, to realizing their dream and ending their college career with getting drafted in the NFL. It is one of the greatest experiences I have professionally to kind of get to chronicle that and be a part of that.
It's the best thing we do, period. I mean, it really is. And to like behind the scenes a little bit, we are not like just kind of hanging, like we're kind of awkward to have around at those, in the sense of like anytime you hear the do like the draft music, our phones are out because we're there to capture the moment, which is kind of like it's just an awkward thing. And like you're very much watching every movement and people are aware.
It's like, funny because Zach Altfush was with me, the video guys, and Aaron Quinn he's the photo guy. And every time Pat looked at his phone, their cameras go up. Like, Pat could be talking to some friend, but their cameras go up. But that one moment where finally, he answers the phone, is like serious, and it's that NFL team, that's what you do it for. So you're ready for that moment.
Yeah. I mean, we're not just like hanging out at the back of the room, like, oh, neat. Like, we're there to.
I did that for a little bit.
Right. There are windows, right? But we're there to get the moment. And like, it is just knowing media is there, knowing that we've got to have our phone out for all those. It can be kind of an awkward ordeal, but it's so meaningful. The first one I did was Kendrick Green in Peoria. And that one was so cool just to see him get that opportunity. That was a big deal to get him and to see him go all the way through to the Pittsburgh Steelers and have that moment. Each of them have their own stories. I don't know how far you want to get into it. I will say Devin Witherspoon's just being at the draft, not necessarily because it was being at the draft is not really all that enjoyable. And I understand, like, people love to go to that. And I don't mean to take for granted the access that we get, but in terms of having conversations, capturing these moments, that it's the hardest place to do it at, because those post-game, I call it a post-game, the post-draft press conferences are just a free-for-all of terribleness. And it's just like, you don't actually get to ask and feel the emotions of somebody who's living their dreams out, and everything is so distant and so spaced out. And, the families, half the family's here, the players here, everyone's just kind of all over. So you don't get that moment. That's why being invited into their house or their Airbnb or, whatever the case is, that's what means a lot, is because you are there for every step of awkwardness. Johnny Newton waiting out Thursday night a year ago, and every kind of minute of surprise for you in the last two you've gone to, it relative surprise with Tip Ryman and Pat Bryant going there, and just to see everybody, like these are the people that matter the most in their lives who are circled around them, and you get to watch all of that come together and then talk to them. We're lucky enough to talk to people who help make these moments happen. And you know, that's why the draft is just so sterile to me. You don't really have that feeling. The best part for me of being in Kansas City with Devin Witherspoon was the day before. You know, Brett Barron's former WCIA sports director, and I left at like 4:00 in the morning to get there for basically a PR deal for all the draft picks outside of a school playing catch and doing all these things. But you actually got to talk to somebody, and it wasn't so much like, have you talked to so-and-so? Do you like so-and-so? Do Devin Witherspoon was actively like the rain after he was drafted by the Seahawks. That's stupid. Like, I want to talk to you. So that's a long-winded rant, I guess, Jeremy, of saying how special it is to be in those houses. Vidarian Lowe was just his kids, his agent, his wife, and his in-laws. And that was, I think maybe his brother would have been there as well. And it's just, every one of them's got a different story, and every one of them so special to be a part of. You mentioned it. I want to ask you, how many calls did Pat Bryant? Because that is the absolute worst case scenario is their phone rings and someone's just like, hey, what's going on, man? Anything happening?
Wasn't it Lovey gave Kendrick a call?
Yeah, and I don't know which team, but there was an NFL offensive line coach that called Vidarian Lowe. It's like, yeah, we do like you. It's like, why are you calling him right now?
Yeah, so the guy that I was paying attention to more with the phone calls was Brett Bielema, because he was in contact with, Jim Leonard's on the Denver staff, but he was in contact on the way to Florida with the Texans. They were really, really interested in him, but then they took Jaden Higgins. So I'm like, cross that one off the board. But he had mentioned like 5 or 6 picks before, 74. Because Denver had traded back, which Sean Payton never does. But he did it partly to get RJ Harvey. They wanted him, knew they could get him a little bit later, but they also wanted to set themselves up with a 3rd-round pick to get Pat Bryant. Like, he had become their top target at wide receiver, because as he said afterwards, he reminds him of Mike Thomas. Courtland Sutton has just one more year of a deal. Marvin Mims, we'll see what his future is there, but they needed help. A lot of people are surprised in Denver that it's somebody very similar to Courtland Sutton, right? Not a burner, not a Luther Burden type. People thought that they might draft him or a Matthew Golden, who's going to your team. So yeah, like that's what a lot of people thought, but Sean Payton's got a type, and it's good football players, and Pat Bryant is that. So that he was kind of the guy I was watching throughout that. Pat was checking his phone and took a few calls, but Denver had kind of been the one that had locked in on him, because the hope was 3rd round. Like, that was the highest hope that they had. I don't even know if they thought early 3rd at that point. Pat told me he was kind of projected, him and his agent, 4th or 5th. So they were ready for the party, because that's why they had the party. They want everybody there just in case. And it worked out, man. It reminded me a lot of Tip. Obviously Tip wasn't as productive of a college football player with the stats, but, it kind of went there on day 2 thinking that I could be there through day 3. And thankfully I had to reschedule my flight to get home a day early. So it was a blast, man. It was a blast to see that happen. All that goes into it, all the work that goes into it. A lot of Pat's close friends growing up have died due to violence in the city of Jacksonville, but he was always focused on football. And if you read my story, I encourage you to do it. His parents, you can tell, made such a great impact on him and were such a great influence on him. So for him to achieve his dream was just so much fun to watch. And yeah, you remember something about everybody. For me, with the Brown brothers, it was Sidney being so elated, but also concerned about his brother who wasn't drafted on day 2, and then having to wait excruciatingly for Chase to get drafted. And it's proved to be a great value in the 5th round. With Tip, it was like he got drafted on day 2, and then even like 5 to 10 minutes afterwards, he's still screaming, yeah! Like, he's just so pumped up that this had been realized, when no one really thought he could do this. As a skinny kid out of South Dakota who took a walk-on spot at Illinois and turned into what he did. And then for me with Pat Bryant, it's really seeing his mom dance late into the night. Like, just so happy, so thrilled. It was just a lot of fun. It's so much fun to see these moments.
Yeah, they are. And I'm glad you mentioned Brett Bielema, because one of the things I've learned just in being kind of in the area, it's same for you as him during these draft moments. We knew, college football coaches aren't lacking for contacts, right? Brett Bielema's really plugged in.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he is super plugged in. Even after Johnny got drafted, that was early in the second round, so everyone was still kind of hanging around the hotel last year and just having conversations. And Brett, said, "Hey, we need to get the draft on here." And he's getting texts, and ultimately from the Arizona, figuring out that Arizona was going to take two of his guys, and it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of a reminder of Illinois' got a football coach who knows a lot of people and knows the right people. And we've known Brett, like, he wears his emotions, whether it's frustration or really emotional moments. Those are real. What you see from him at the NFL draft. I saw your video. He got emotional after Pat went. Same thing a year ago when Johnny went. And those are guys he didn't recruit out of high school, but obviously they're very talented players who helped him and he helped them. But man, he cares a ton about watching that moment happen for those guys, and he's got the plugins to know when that's going to come about.
Yeah, and Pat Bryant, Denver Broncos, got a good football player. I know a lot of people thought, he was a 4th or 5th round pick. I went through. I was not feeling good about my 2025 predictions that I wrote up at the bowl game because Illinois did not get a number 3 seed in basketball, did not make it to the Elite 8 as I had predicted. Kasper's will not probably go top 5. But one of them I had was Pat Bryant will go top 80 in the NFL draft. And boy, I just got it. And I just thought, Joey, that I knew he wouldn't test well. But what we saw on the field was a 3rd round pick, right? Like what we saw this year on the field going against some of the best competition in college football was a guy that is going to find a way to produce in the NFL. I don't know if he'll be a number 1 receiver. I don't know if Denver is drafting him to be that, given they have Cortland Sutton, given they drafted Tony Franklin a couple of years ago. But he's going to get better. And I felt the same way about Isaiah Williams, who's made a roster spot. I felt the same way about Casey Washington, who's got an NFL roster spot. It's just when I draft that guy, I don't have to worry. He's a team captain. He works his butt off. His routine, his work ethic, it is unbelievable. And then what you see on film, he's just going up and winning most 50-50 balls. He makes plays after the catch, even if he doesn't have the greatest speed or the greatest quickness. He's just a damn good football player. So I can see why a guy like Sean Payton, who prioritizes the film over everything, really wanted Pat Bryant.
Yeah, I thought he would test a little bit. I thought he'd have like the Casey Washington, Tip Ryman-like testing bump there, maybe test better than what his on-field speed may show. But, I mean, we talked about it before the draft. I didn't know that day 2. I didn't think day 2 was going to happen because I thought those numbers would ultimately, the 40 in particular, would really hold teams up on Pat Bryant. But as you mentioned, the tape is the tape. I mean, he had day 2 tape. I just thought the speed was going to ultimately be his way into day 3. But Sean Payton, the behind the scenes nuggets you had in terms of, I don't want to give those away because I know they're on the website, but in terms of just the communication, the pre-draft communication he had with Brett Bielema and understanding who Pat Bryant is and getting some additional tape on him, I guess that makes sense. And good for Pat Bryant, reunited with Alex Palczewski in Denver. And we'll see what that looks like. I'm kind of looking ahead a little bit to maybe 2026 in terms of Pat Bryant with some of those doors open, but to go in and have a guy like Cortland Sutton to learn from, to model after. Obviously, there's a common denominator with Justin Stepp and Cortland Sutton.
This was such a great moment for everybody there that had to do with Illinois because Brett Bielema, Monty Ball announced the pick for Denver. His star at Wisconsin, who's had some personal turbulence in his life. So to see him, I know Brett was getting emotional about that. But then Justin Stepp, his son is named after Cortland Sutton, who he coached at SMU. Okay. So for him to go there, Justin was just unbelievable. Of course, he's staying in orange and blue, right? He's Alex Palczewski is there. It just felt like a great fit, a perfect fit, especially with a coach like Sean Payton.
Yeah. And, I think you see a little bit more now, Jeremy, as you look at which teams are prioritizing Illinois. Like most teams, Johnny Newton had Quan Martin there already, right? Like I think NFL teams know what you're getting when you draft a player from Illinois. Alex Palczewski, Pat Bryant.
You know who coached a lot? You know who coached a lot of Brett Bielema guys was Bill Belichick.
Yeah,
yeah. Whether it was Arkansas or Wisconsin, he went after a lot of Brett Bielema guys just because they had that DNA in them. Whether you want to call it tough, smart, dependable, which by the way, a Bears scout used to describe somebody, and I showed Brett Bielema that, and he laughed. So yeah, like they are getting a reputation as somebody who develops talent. The word I got out of Xavier Scott was maybe a mid-round guy, but might get bumped up a round just because he comes from Illinois and what they've done with DBs.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's funny you say that because I saw like the Broncos. I don't remember what it was, like tough, smart, relentless or something. And in my brain, do you remember when Jim was like being Dwight in the office and he's like just totally butchering like he's crossing over Lord of the Rings and Battlestar Galactica. It wasn't being Dwight. He was trying to get Dwight to break free from work, and Dwight was like trying not. That's how I picture when it's like tough, smart, and something other dependable. Brett, like I don't know. It's obviously dependable here, but there is overlap. It's kind of our long way of saying that, and I think that bodes well if you're an Illinois fan and knowing how teams in the NFL view players that are coached by the coaching staff in Champaign.
Yeah, and you mentioned the long term here with the wide receivers. Cortland Sutton is an unrestricted free agent next year. I would imagine they try to extend him, but he's 30 years old. Marvin Mims has one more year after this year, so 2 years left on his deal, but it's a very cuttable contract. Troy Franklin, still a young guy. They'll have him under contract here, but there will be opportunity. Like maybe it's a fourth guy this year, but you draft him in the third round, you're expecting him to contribute. And, just from what I've heard from the Illinois coaches, like they have high hopes for what Pat Bryant can be in their offense with Bo Nix.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll see how that plays out here. But even if this is a 1-year learning stop for Pat Bryant before a bigger role comes about, I think special teams is still possible. I think that's very much a possibility. But yeah, I mean, I'm eager to see what that looks like. I'll just behind the scenes here, I'm trying to set up a time with Alex Palczewski to come on with us. And part of me is like, can I just send you the link now? We're talking about your team. Do you want to pop in? So I probably didn't give you the best answers. I try to run some scheduling behind the scenes here, but I love the players that Pat Bryant gets to learn from in Denver, and I like the coaching staff. Again, you know what you're getting with Pat, right? Like Sean Payton didn't draft Pat Bryant thinking he's going to be some downfield, take the top off. He knows exactly what Pat Bryant's good at, and he's coached players who have that overlapping skill set that Pat Bryant. So in terms of fit, I love what that looks like for him.
Yeah, he was kept saying, hey, he reminds me of Mike Thomas with explosiveness off the snap, his competitiveness, his route running, all that. He goes, I don't want to put the expectations of Mike on here, but I got what he was saying because Mike was a 2-time All-Pro. Obviously had huge numbers in New Orleans, but Mike ran a 4.57 40, which is right around Pat Bryant's 4.61. So I get what he's saying right there. All right, five guys.
Hey, can we bring in? Do you want to bring in Palcho? Can I send him the link?
Yeah, he's got time.
Sure. Yeah, he said. I mean, I'm not going to read what he said, but because Alex Palczewski well enough. Let's roll. I'll send him the link so we can talk a little bit until he joins. But that's awesome. That's funny. Yeah, a couple UDFAs.
Yeah, let's go in quickly here. T-Rod Edwards, the Los Angeles Chargers. I asked Bielema if one other guy gets drafted, who do you think it'd be? He said Edwards, and he quickly signed with the Chargers. So it was clear that he was well wanted out there on the market. Seth Coleman, Seattle Seahawks, Zachary Franklin, the Raiders. Dennis Briggs gets a rookie minicamp invite with the Titans, and Ryan Mead, heck of a story, rookie minicamp invite with the Eagles. What stands out for you there, Joey?
The quickness with T-Rod Edwards went to the Chargers, and obviously, I mean, I didn't pay attention a lot. I'm going to be honest with you, to the Chargers' defensive line depth, but in diving into it a little bit, like there's a road there for T-Rod Edwards to give himself an opportunity to stick around. Los Angeles, I kept typing San Diego when I was putting together the thing, to stick around Los Angeles a little bit because of opportunity in front of him. And I think he's got good pass rush value. He's got good size. That's a position that you mentioned. This is a fourth straight nose tackle for Illinois, Terrence Jamison, defensive line coach, to end up with the UDFA deal. T-Rod's a good player, man. He is a very good player. I'm eager to see him there. And we should talk about quickly, especially with Alex Palczewski coming on. Is he here?
He's here, but finish your thought.
There's a good line of undrafted free agents who have stuck around in the NFL, whether it's Palczewski or Isaiah Williams or Jake Hansen. Who am I missing? We had this whole long conversation earlier.
I was texting you all of these.
Continue. Keith Randolph has a futures deal. Denzel Daxon had that opportunity. Roderick Perry. That's the UDFA market's a real market, and there's a path to sticking with the roster and having that opportunity in the NFL.
All right, we love our boy Alex Palczewski, but before we dive into the interview with him, I do have to give a discretion warning. There's a lot of colorful language from Alex Palczewski. So if you are a parent that has kids in the car, or you're watching on TV or your laptop out loud, you might want to turn it down. You might want to skip ahead. You might want to listen to this by yourself, because Alex is authentically Palcho, which we love, and we want to run that in full. We wanted to give you a heads up. There are some words your little kids might not want to hear, but that you will certainly enjoy. So let's get to the Alex Palczewski interview coming up next. You probably won't want to miss it. All right, let's freaking go. It's Alex Palczewski.
What's going on?
What's up, Palcho?
Long time no see. How you guys been?
Fantastic. Well, how do you feel to have Pat Bryant on your team? What was your reaction to that, man?
I was fucking ecstatic about it. Brett Moore, he hit me up like before we picked we had our pick. He's like, "Hey, can you hop on FaceTime?" I was like, "What for?" So I repped him when I saw the pick. I got to FaceTime him that night. It was unbelievable. I can't wait to see him here next week.
Did they ask you about him at all, like during the process?
They did. So like that's, I mean, I'm always recruiting the Illini guys. So as soon as we got somebody coming up, I'm like, hey, Pat Bryant's coming through the line right now. You guys would love him. Great guy. And kind of I've noticed throughout these last few months, they're like, yo, what do you think of Pat Bryant? I was like, oh, that's a mistake you asked me, because I'm going to fucking talk to you for 10 minutes now about him. But no, they've been asking me, and so I was ecstatic when they called his name. So it's going to be fun to get another Illini out here in Denver.
Palcho, we were just talking about this. Why is that you were the UDFA route to stick around? So what is that road? Like, how do you stick?
The biggest thing is just trying to create value for yourself, like trying to go out of your way, see what you can do to help the team. Like I remember one of the first few days I got here to Denver my rookie year, I went up to the special teams coordinator and I was like, hey, coach, like I can play any single spot on field goal, like whatever you need. I'll play tight. Need me on field goal block as a tall guy to get my hand up, whatever you guys need. So that's kind of one way. And then just, taking as much coaching as possible. That's what if you show these coaches, like you're willing to accept what they're teaching and preaching, that it'll go a long ways.
How did Illinois prepare you for that? Especially Brett Bielema, that year, 2 years you guys had together.
Yeah. I mean, they helped so much. The biggest thing is just, there's a whole nother level to it. Like I thought my last year, I thought I was hot shit, all that. And then I get here and I'm like, wow. Like I'm around Mike McGlinchey, Quinn Miners, Garrett Bowles, like unbelievable offensive linemen. And it's eye-opening at how much more there is to get better at, And so it's kind of like one of those things where one thing that I vividly remember first few weeks of when I got to Champaign, Luke Buckus always said, you've never fucking arrived. You've never arrived. So, like, it's kind of one of those things, like a humbling moment. Like, I get back to work, see what I can get better at, and just try to improve every single day.
So what's it like to play for Sean Payton? What's he like as a coach? What would you tell Pat?
He's catch the ball, man. No, Coach Payton is unbelievable. He's one of the fellas, and he's just like, he's extremely like hands-on, but he's like, no bullshit. Like you're gonna do what you have to do to help the team, and that's it. Play your role and do what you have to do. But I mean, he's an unbelievable coach to play for. It's been awesome.
How have you gotten better, Palcho, since you've been in the NFL, learning from guys like McGlinchey, like you're saying?
That, I mean, there's been so much. I mean, the one thing that was cool is that I got to choose where I wanted to go, and our offensive line coaches here are unbelievable. Like the last 2 years, we've had Zach Streif and Austin King, which double Northwestern guys, so not the best. But I mean, they weren't like some world beater freak athletes. They were all late round picks who stuck around in the league for a while. So the coaching that they do, like the biggest thing has just been eliminating inefficiencies. Like I'll take a look at like old clips from like 2018, 2019, even my last year, and just kind of how slow and how much like wasted movement I had. So that stuff, and then just the mental side of it that these guys have helped me with. I mean, like, it's our job to block some of the greatest athletes on this planet, Max Crosby, Myles Garrett, all these unbelievable guys, these avatars. So like just the mental side of it of just doing our job and not thinking like, oh, like what if I give up a sack? What if I lose? It's like, nah, going out there, draw the line, and we're fucking fighting. Like, and so it's these guys have helped me tenfold, and it's been a blast to be. Yeah, they're unbelievable.
What was your welcome to the NFL? Like the holy shit, I'm here moment.
It's probably this last year. I mean, like when I actually got to start, and like I got to start like in Tampa and then New York. Those were unbelievable. But then like we went out and played the Raiders, and like first play we line up, it's Christian Wilkins and Max Crosby. I'm like, oh, there's $250 million right there. And so like kind of like just some stuff where I thought it was easy like rep, and like there was one I had a deuce on Christian Wilkins, and he just quick swam me. I was like, oh shit. And he got a TFL, but it was just like, all right, there's a whole fucking other level to this shit. And so it's that, and I'm sure I'll have a bunch more hopefully this year.
That's what is that UDFA process? Like, how much research did you do in terms of what's the best fit for me, and how much do you just say, hey, you're my agent, figure this out for me and let me sign my name?
So that's what was really, really good with my agent is as the weeks leading up to the draft, we went through kind of almost every single team and went through their current roster and what they had, like how many tackles. So like there's teams that had 5 tackles on active roster last year, 3 on practice squad, where it's like, all right, like it's fine. The team that has the best path to the active roster. And so like, it was awesome. Like every single time through the draft, it would piss me off to see another tackle get drafted, but I know like, all right, this team drafted them. I'm probably not going to sign there because they obviously want that guy over me. So at the end of it, I knew, all right, it was down to a few teams, and Denver was the best one.
I remember talking with people around Isaiah Williams last year, and they were saying, as much as you want to get drafted, it might be better than to be an undrafted guy than a 7th or 6th rounder because of that. Did you feel that way, or is it still hard not to get drafted when you feel you deserve it?
I always get a little angry around this time just because I wish I could have gotten my name called. But I mean, I've been able to at least be in the NFL for 2 years. This has been an unbelievable ride, and I mean, from some of the stories I've heard around the league, I'm very happy to be here.
All right, I remember seeing Alex Palczewski as a 17-year-old, I believe, in the first team at 270 pounds. I'm like, wow, I liked this kid as a prospect. It said something about Illinois' offensive line recruiting at the time, but I mean, you got thrown in the fire, Alex. And then, of course, the injury setback, you get an extra year of eligibility. Just how do you look back on how the time at Illinois, all the coaches you went through, all the turmoil you went through, and then some success, like how did that shape you to where you are today?
Yeah. So first off, I got beef with you for a second.
Okay, bring it.
Nothing crazy. It's 8 years in the process, but there was a picture. I believe you took it. It was our freshman year when we were at Raymond James playing USF, and I was warming up. And I was 270 pounds. I was drinking 4 Ensures a day, 150 grams of sugar, fat as shit. And I was warming up, and I was like this, and I had just. It was not a good look, and you took it. and I think you captured like, oh, new freshman Alex Palczewski filling out quickly. Oh.
That's a dick move. My bad.
But yeah, I had to get that off my chest.
Appreciate it. I'll take it.
But no, I mean, it's been wild. All this stuff, like going back to, I always think about it. I was back in Chicago 2 weeks ago, just talking to my parents, like a lifetime ago that was moving back into Brownlee Hall in 2017. I mean, it's crazy the amount of coaches that I've had and how each one has operated. You know, like I get to see everything differently. And then honestly, the biggest thing was these injuries. You know, that was a shitty time. I mean, three lower body injuries is a motherfucker in an off season. So it was eye opening because it showed me how quick, if I don't take care of myself, how quick you can get tossed out of football. Like, and so that sucked 2021, but then what? They gave me the extra year. Still don't know how I got it.
I was going to ask you that.
Yeah.
Was that a wing and a prayer there?
It was. Listen, I'm at the Hula Bowl down in Orlando, and it's the day before the game, and Coach B calls me. He goes, "Hey, there's a chance we can get you back." Because it was like something where, like, when I tore my ACL my in 2020, that was the fourth game, and I never redshirted. So I don't know. But I mean, the last year, 2022, was a blessing to help me get back, get a full year of actual development with these coaches, with Tank right down there. I mean, I owe those guys so much because they helped me, him, Matt Manninger, all of them, and the trainers are unbelievable to help me get back to where I was and where I know I could be. So it's definitely a roller coaster, but it's set me up where it's like I feel confident now playing in the NFL, and no matter what happens, I know if I made it back from that, I can make it back from a lot.
Yeah, I wanted to ask you if you ever think about how different this could have been if that 2022 year doesn't happen. Like, I mean, I don't know what your prospects were after 21, but obviously 22 is a lot better.
Yeah, I mean, 21 was like, that's, again, another thing that was awesome about crossing paths with all these coaches was, well, I was training out in Boston, and I reached out to a bunch of coaches, obviously the ones at Illinois, but then people I've crossed paths with, Coach Smith, Buckus, Joey Bozé, and just kind of getting their feedback. And kind of the biggest consensus I found was the NFL really isn't a developmental league, and that's what I needed another few months of, because that's what my biggest worry was. All right, I'm going to get into rookie mini camp or something like that, and then you'll be like, fuck, this kid still needs a good 6-7 months to get back, and we're not going to really waste time on him. So I mean, that was my biggest consensus, and obviously it's worked out so far. I get a lot of shit for being a sixth-year guy, but but I mean, it's worked out tremendously.
I saw you post a picture the other day of all 5 of your jerseys. You, Nick Allegretti, Vidarian Lowe, Doug Kramer, Kendrick Green. You guys all did it. You did take the Van Wilder route there, but you guys all did it.
Listen, a lot of people go to school for 8 years. All right,
Called doctors.
They're called doctors. No, it was actually cool when me and Doug was the last one I needed, and we traded, and I was like, I had them on my wall in my apartment. I'm like, this is pretty fucking cool. And my parents sent me that picture of us at the banquet after 2018, and I'm like, wow, like, I don't know, like, for my best friends, I can have on my wall and see all the shit that we did. So that's pretty special to be able to have.
What is the NFL lifestyle like? Oh.
Very boring, I'm gonna be honest. No, it's fantastic. I mean, what? I don't have school. I don't have to go run across campus all sweaty. I mean, it's pretty nice. I mean, like, the biggest thing that I've noticed is, like, it's truly a professional league. Like, you have to take care of yourself. You're not gonna have academic advisors or player development guys like, come on, let's go, you need to be in this meeting, or come on, you need to eat your diet. It's one of those things where you have to take ownership of everything in your life, or you're going to get bounced out of here real quick. So, like, it's been awesome. The people that we have, like, the resources, if you go and ask for it, they are tremendous here. Like, our training staff, support staff, dietitians, they're unbelievable. But it's, again, it's your ownership. Like, last year when we finished the season, like, we finished January, and it's like, hey, we'll see you in April. And so it's like, oh shit, like, now I got to figure out something. How do I train? How do I keep my body right for 3 months, all that on myself? Where do I go? What do I fuel myself with? So it forces you to grow up a lot and be able to look in the mirror and, like, if I'm not performing at the level I want to, it's my fault. What do I have to fix to change this? It's not this guy's fault. It's always mine. So I'm responsible for my success and my failure.
Alex, I think of where your parents came from. They came to this country for opportunities like you are getting right now, and you have made the most of it, right? Getting here. But I know that second contract in the NFL, like, is so important. Ted Karras, Nick getting it. Like, what is the key? Like, have you learned from those guys about getting to that next deal that can be so life-changing for everybody?
Listen, there's still so much I have to learn about it. But I mean, biggest thing, like, that I've tried to just, it's tough sometimes, but it's just honestly just put on the blinders.
Yeah.
Like, just run my race. Like, I always think about, like, I'll look around the locker room. I'll look at, like, Pat Surtain, Defensive Player of the Year. He just finished his 4th year, and I'm like, oh, he's younger than me. But it's just like, all right, I got to run my race, and it's truly just getting better every single day. again, that's one of those things when I had to go through all this lower body stuff was if you look down the road months and years in advance, you're gonna be like, fuck, like how am I gonna do this? And again, credit to my high school offensive line coach, Tim Beischer, was it was just like take it every single day, like focus on the process, not the results. And so that's the biggest thing. It's like what I'm trying to see hopefully next year for the second contract, just blinders on. What can I do today to get better?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing. But I mean, it's been unbelievable. I mean, Nate Hobbs, same draft class. Kirby Joseph. That's pretty cool to see. That's something special. I mean, listen, there's some rumblings on the street that there's a new DBU, you know. But no, it's awesome to see these guys.
Two more, Palcho, and we'll get you out of here. What is it like seeing Illinois where it is now, and why was Brett Bielema able to get it here?
It's unbelievable. That was, again, like I said, I was back home in Chicago for 2 weeks. I had to go down for a spring practice down there, and just to see, like, obviously the practice, all that, but just all the extra people around, all these high school recruits, all this stuff. I mean, one thing that I've seen with Coach Bielema is just kind of taking ownership back of the state. You know, like all these people are coming down, all these coaches, and if there's a recruit in Illinois, we want him. And all that, but then just the development that I've seen. I mean, like I always kind of point back to Kirby Joseph. I mean, the year before 21, he didn't even know what side of the ball he was going to play, and then now he's the highest paid safety in the league. That's a pretty good recruiting stuff. But I mean, it's just special the people that Coach B brings in, and like he kind of cuts out all the BS. And he's seen it. He's done it at a high level. I mean, he's been in the NFL. He knows what it takes. And so just the positions they can put our players in is unbelievable. And I was almost giddy back there watching that practice. But it's awesome to see. And I can't wait to watch them this season, hopefully get back for a game this year.
My last thing is, do the players know how good they have it now? You had to talk to us after a lot of crappy losses. Like you were like the designated, it's a loss, let Palcho go drop a few F-bombs and we'll get out of here. And now there's not as many losses.
I know. Fucking Brett Moore after every loss, you go, Palcho.
Just like Nicky before you, man.
Yeah, I was like, Eastern Michigan lost back in 19. Like, hey, bud, I'm going to need you go back there. All right, my bad. No, I mean it's awesome to see how good they have it now. But honestly, like it's good, but there's a reason it's good. These players actually care, and like what these older guys know, like what it takes, and like the standard that I see there now. With like guys like Gabe Akis, like that, like it's a motherfucker in practice, and that's how it should be. These practices should be more difficult than these games, and so it's been special to see that. And it's awesome to see the trajectory they're on.
Alex Palczewski, awesome catching up with you. It's been great to see all your success going from prospect to Illinois to all of this with the Denver Broncos. Tell Pat, hey, for us, take care of him while he's out there.
Definitely.
And, best of luck moving forward, man. Appreciate you.
Appreciate you, man.
Appreciate you guys. Great to see you, and ILL as always.
Thanks, dude. Take care.
See you guys.
Yeah, I'm going to have to add a disclaimer before this, right? I'm going to have to put something in here. The kids listen to this.
You are going to have to go ahead and do that. That is, for everyone who has always heard us make these little references, that is the most pure form of Alex Palczewski. And if the language is a lot, I'm sorry, but I'm glad that people got to see the purest of pure form of him and authentic. And it's just cool as hell to see what he's doing.
Yeah, that's authentically Palcho. And I freaking, even if he had a camera in his face, he was going to do it. Like, that's just who he is. It's what makes him him. And great job by you, Joey. Because we were thinking about this. We were doing this because he was back on campus. And he's such a great story. And he's so fun to talk to. And I'm glad he called me out. I don't remember this picture. I thought it was going to be something way worse than that he called me out for. So I will take that.
I'm going to have to find the picture. It's got to be in our system, right? Or at least on
it's on Twitter probably somewhere if I tweeted it out at the USF game. I don't remember.
That's I'm so glad he sat on that for 8 years to get here. I'm so glad.
A picture of a 280-pound man who's upset about the way he looks. I love it.
Oh man, I usually don't like to throw curveballs in, but when he said, "Hey, let's go," I thought, all right, well, we're just But I don't even remember where. You want to get the transfer portal and get out of here, Jeremy?
Yeah, let's get to the transfer portal stuff and we'll get out of here. No sizable other exits here, Joey. The portal closed on Friday, so we would have heard about any additions over the last 48 hours, I would imagine. So Alex Bray and Josh McCray are the top two, and those are losses, especially Josh McCray. Alex Bray, I thought, was a solid player, probably better scheme fit as we talked about last week, but they've quickly added here. We talked about Tyler McMillan last week. SEMO transfer offensive tackle, I think, can compete for a starting spot, at least gives them very good depth. If there's an injury or underperformance from somewhere, potentially allows you to move Melvin Priestley into right guard, where I think he could be elite. But then they add more. Nathan Knappich, the brother of Aiden Knappich, who transferred from Idaho. They plan to redshirt him this year, if possible, to potentially be the left tackle in 2026 after J.C. Davis leaves. Well, Nathan Knappich, maybe he takes the baton from his brother as a left tackle, was thought of higher as a prospect than Aiden, who's an all Big Sky guy, played a little bit last year. More developmental, but they are high on him. They are excited about what he can be. Then they add and fill in for the Bray spot with Carter Hewitt out of Northern Iowa. Before we get to the last transfer edition, which I'm excited about, it is clear 2023 scarred Brett Bielema, that they did not add enough in the transfer portal for depth on the offensive line and defensive line. That is never happening again with him. And that is clear with these two additions. They've looked at some interior guys as well, but also adding Carter Hewitt to replace Alex Bray. They want to have more linemen rather than err on the side of that than less.
Yeah, and you could even add secondary. They haven't gone as heavy in the secondary market in the portal, but that was somewhere I thought they didn't have enough depth. But Brett Bielema still believes in the trenches. That's obviously always going to be a huge priority for him. Carter Hewitt's probably a guy that I would expect to see more of than Knappich coming into the 2025 season, just given Alex Bray's departure. And he's just an old guy, right? I mean, he's a 4-year guy, he's been in a college program, a guy who can step in there and be part of that rotation, you would think. I caught up with him. We've got a story on Illini Inquirer about him and his really fun road, honestly, to Big Ten football. The Knappich brothers, if there's a brother tandem, if there are two even passably capable Big Ten brothers, and obviously the additions have been more than that, Brett Bielema is going to go the brother route. He loves it. He absolutely
10% of the roster is brothers. 10% of he's got 5 sets of brothers on this team next year.
He has a type, right? I mean, he believes very much in the genetics of it all. I would imagine that probably started with a family by the name of Watt, probably really kickstarted this a little bit with Brett Bielema, but he's going to do it. And if they're capable of playing in the Big Ten, he's going to make that happen as best as he can. But yeah, we'll see. I mean, just more depth, more long-term depth, especially at tackle, Jeremy. That has been kind of we've liked what they've had on the interior, but there's a weird kind of intermediate gap there in terms of who are you ready to go tackles when Priestley, when J.C. Davis move on. And I think you're seeing that addressed. Now, with Aiden Knappich, things have to go right where you can let him redshirt. You don't have to break that glass. But now you have the Knappichs who could be more of a long-term tackle option.
Feel pretty good about your tackle depth chart now with J.C. Davis and Melvin Priestley, Aiden Knappich, Tyler McMillan. All those guys can play this year, right? Like you feel like you can put all those guys in the game and compete. Zafir Stewart, they're excited about long-term. And now you add Nathan Knappich, who they're very high on. The 5 sets of brothers, by the way, the Knappichs, the Krutzes, the Scotts, Xavier and Zanai, the Cox brothers, and the Clement brothers.
And we just missed the Newtons.
Just missed the Newtons by a year. Yeah, you got Jershawn coming in. Jerwan, by the way, also going to the Broncos, wide receiver. I think Illinois would have loved to have had him as well. So let's get to my most excited transfer edition, and that's Lucas Osada, kicker / punter / kickoff specialist. We talked about how punter was their biggest need. Well, Osada was one of the highest ranked punters in the class of 2024. He was a kickoff specialist at North Carolina, 59 kickoffs. His numbers were better than Ethan Machowski, who had issues kicking out of bounds, but also his kickoff percentage wasn't great. It was his touchback percentage, wasn't great. It was about 52%. Osada was about 65%. So consistently getting the ball out of bounds, getting the ball out of the end zone. So it starts at the 25-yard line. There's a lot of value there. David Olano did not kick off last year. So you feel like he's going to make an impact there, but he's also a really good kicker when he was in high school. So potentially can be the backup to David Olano there. which you needed all those spots filled, and to fill it with one guy, Joey, that's a very valuable addition, especially for a guy who long-term could be your punter after Keelan Crimmins is done after this year. I don't know if he can also be the kicker, but at least he's an option you can put in a game and potentially kick a 35-yard field goal if you need it.
Yeah, he really does a lot of what Illinois needed. To be clear, you and I both believe David Alano could have handled kickoff. I think it's worth investigating in training camp if they moving forward prefer to have separate field goal kicker to kick off, or if that's just a luxury that's been afforded to them here in the last couple of years with Ethan Wachowski and now Asada. But yeah, I mean, he hits exactly what Illinois needed. And Jeremy, you need a new top need, I guess, or they've addressed the top need. I don't even know if there's time or energy to reset that at this moment, but that was the biggest need coming in our opinion. Brett Bielema basically held up a sign at the Smith Center, said punters welcome, and they got one in Asada. So he's versatile too. So that's a big deal for them. Real quick, Jeremy, before we go, there's a couple housekeeping things just in case people had missed it. Josh McCray to Georgia, Ethan Wachowski to Washington, Alex Bray to Kansas. Those are the 3 Power 4 commits. And I think it's also worth maybe investigating as this gets further along here. But we didn't see a ton of portal exits to get them to 105, which makes me wonder if there's the expectation of a runway with this house settlement to get to the 105. We don't know that answer at this moment in time, but obviously there was not the exodus to hit that number that we thought would have needed to happen for Illinois.
I think it's funny that the judge Wilkin told the powers that be, hey, change the roster limits, otherwise I'm not approving this. And they said no. And they said, okay, I'm not approving it. Change it. He got 2 weeks. So yes, I think they're going to change it. And I think it would be more gradual, whether it's 115, 110, gives you a little bit more wiggle room, because it'd be easy for Illinois to get to that number, right? Like there's a lot of walk-ons that would probably just get shown the door, which is a sad part of all of this. But I think it'd be easy for Illinois. But my roster chart, based on the spring roster, based on the additions they got in, are at 111 right now. So I'm sure you'll still see some potential movement from this. But they're in a good spot right now. And I think tight end is the other need they've been looking at. They've been looking at a lot of tight ends. Tariq Mulder was one of them they brought in. There's another kid from Ball State, not named Tanner Koziel, that they also hosted for a visit. So wouldn't be shocked if they had some more tight end depth, which is pretty typical of them. They like to have 4 tight ends that they know they can count on, Joy. Other than that,
roster feels set, man.
It feels pretty set, yeah.
And not only does it feel set in terms of the comings and goings of the roster, but really in terms of the top, let's just say 35 players on the roster and where they fit in. I mean, maybe a little bit of give or take. That's basically most of the 2 deep. Obviously, there'll be some battles here and there, but you pretty much know what to expect and where to expect those players come training camp. And that is not something that Illinois has had really a great deal of recently in terms of established guys, and not going to be us in our 15-minute windows like, oh my gosh, so-and-so was here. You pretty much, you have a good idea of what's what there.
All right. I'm not a believer in beeping stuff, but I do have to go put a disclaimer in all of this. So we'll wrap this up here. Joey Wagner, good stuff. Great stuff, as always, from Alex Palczewski. That was authentically Palcho, and good insight on what Pat Bryant's getting with the Denver Broncos and in his career. And I'm glad, Joey, he didn't understand how he got the waiver, because I still don't, but it's worth a shot. That's why you make the waivers. He
did put out that, like, I think it's this. And I'm like, that's the only thing we've thought for 3 years now. It had to be that ACL injury with 2020, but that was going to be our question on our list. But happy as heck that he joined us in school to see him having this opportunity in Denver and all 5 of those linemen in the NFL.
All right, for Joey Wagner, I'm Jeremy Werner. Thank you for listening to the Illini Inquirer Podcast. Give us a follow, rating, and review wherever you get your podcast. Check us out on YouTube as well. Everybody have a great day. Take care of each other. We'll talk to you next time right here on the Illini Inquirer Podcast.